For almost 2 centuries, humanity had lived under the shadow of the Orion Imperial Dominion, an empire so vast that entire star systems disappeared beneath its banners without firing a single shot. The empire controlled trade routes, food production worlds, shipyards, and even communication relays across half the known galaxy. Most civilizations obeyed because resistance was pointless. The few who fought back were crushed publicly. Their homeworlds turned into warnings floating silently in space. Humanity survived not because it was powerful, but because it stayed quiet. Earth paid its taxes, followed imperial regulations, and tolerated humiliation after humiliation, while secretly rebuilding from decades of economic sanctions and political manipulation. To the Empire, humans were insignificant. Clever engineers perhaps, stubborn workers certainly, but strategically harmless. That assumption would become the greatest military mistake in galactic history. The beginning of the disaster started with something the Empire ignored completely: a forgotten ship buried beneath layers of bureaucracy, mockery, and classified military reports. Officially, the vessel was designated NX-01 Aegis, an experimental warship prototype developed by Earth's Advanced Defense Initiative nearly 30 years earlier. Unofficially, most people in the Terran Senate called it the Graveyard Project. Billions of credits vanished into its construction. Admirals criticized it. Economists demanded it be dismantled. Politicians called it paranoia disguised as engineering. Even among humanity's own military circles, the ship was considered absurd. The Aegis did not fit conventional doctrines. It was too large to function as a stealth vessel, too lightly crewed for its size, and its weapon systems consumed impossible amounts of power. Worst of all, it relied on technology nobody truly trusted: an unstable gravitational compression reactor capable of bending localized spacetime around the ship itself. 3 test runs ended in catastrophe. The first trial disabled every satellite around Luna. The second created a gravitational distortion wave that tore apart an unmanned destroyer 2,000 kilometers away. The third caused the Aegis to vanish from sensors for 17 terrifying minutes before reappearing nearly 3 astronomical units from its original position. After that, funding disappeared overnight. The ship was dragged into a classified orbital shipyard above Neptune and forgotten. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. What the Empire never understood about humanity was that humans rarely abandon dangerous ideas. They hide them. They bury them beneath ordinary projects. They continue improving them quietly while pretending to move on. And while Imperial governors mocked humanity's outdated fleet doctrines, Earth's engineers continued working on the Aegis in absolute secrecy for nearly 3 decades. Then came the Siege of Titan. The Empire claimed it was a compliance operation. In reality, it was punishment. Titan's colonies had refused new Imperial labor quotas after millions of workers died in mining collapses caused by overproduction demands. Instead of negotiation, the Empire sent the 7th Armada, a fleet so massive its arrival eclipsed the rings of Saturn. Thousands of warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Battlecruisers stretched for kilometers. Carrier platforms deployed swarms of autonomous fighters. Orbital cannons locked onto civilian infrastructure before the first warning was even broadcast. The message from the Imperial Grand Marshal was transmitted across every human colony simultaneously. Submit immediately. Resistance will be answered permanently. Humanity had heard those words before. Usually, surrender followed. This time, Earth refused. The response shocked even human citizens. The Terran Senate authorized total military mobilization within 8 minutes. Defense fleets scrambled from Mars, Luna, and the Jovian shipyards, but everyone knew it would not be enough. The Empire's 7th Armada outnumbered them almost 20-1. Analysts predicted humanity would lose the outer colonies within 48 hours and Earth itself within 2 weeks. And still, humanity fought. The opening battle was catastrophic. Imperial plasma lances burned through Terran cruisers like paper. Human destroyers launched desperate railgun volleys that barely scratched Imperial shielding. Entire defense stations vanished beneath orbital bombardments. Near Titan, debris fields grew so dense they resembled artificial asteroid belts. Thousands died in the first hour alone. The Empire believed victory was inevitable. Then something appeared near Neptune. At first, Imperial sensors thought it was a navigation error. Their system showed a massive gravitational anomaly emerging from deep space with impossible energy readings. Some officers believed a star was collapsing. Others assumed humans had detonated a reactor network in desperation. The anomaly distorted targeting systems across millions of kilometers. Ships lost formation cohesion. Communications suffered temporal delays measured in microseconds. Tiny discrepancies that nevertheless shattered fleet synchronization. Then the anomaly moved. Not with engines, with gravity itself. The Aegis arrived like reality tearing open. It did not emerge from hyperspace conventionally. Space around it folded inward, collapsing and unfolding in violent waves of blue-white distortion. The prototype warship dwarfed every vessel in the battlefield. Its hull was black, angular, scarred from decades of hidden modifications. Entire sections glowed with gravitational stress. Energy arcs crawled across its surface like lightning trapped beneath metal skin. Imperial commanders laughed at first. One ship against an armada? Then the Aegis fired. There was no beam, no missile, no visible projectile. One moment, the Imperial battleship Vortan existed. The next, it compressed inward violently, crushed into a sphere barely 20 meters wide, before exploding into molten debris. Thousands of crew members died instantly without understanding what happened. Silence spread across Imperial command channels. Then panic followed. The Aegis unleashed its primary weapon again, a gravitational shear cannon capable of warping spacetime across targeted vectors. Entire formations collapsed as invisible tidal forces ripped ships apart from within. Hulls twisted, reactors imploded, shield systems overloaded because they had been designed to stop energy and matter, not the fabric of space itself. Human forces stopped transmitting battle commands just to watch. Even Terran admirals were horrified. The prototype they had buried decades ago was not a warship. It was a weaponized physics disaster. Imperial carriers launched fighter swarms toward the Aegis, but targeting computers failed near the vessel due to gravitational interference. Pilots lost orientation as local space bent unpredictably around them. Some fighters collided with each other. Others drifted helplessly before being annihilated by automated rail batteries hidden beneath the Aegis's armored hull. Then the Empire escalated. 3 Imperial dreadnoughts moved into attack formation around Saturn, charging stellar lances powerful enough to split continents apart. The Empire intended to erase the Aegis instantly, even if collateral damage destroyed human colonies nearby. The Aegis commander, Admiral Elias Ward, gave only one order: release anchor. No one outside the ship knew what that meant. The answer arrived seconds later. The gravitational reactor inside the Aegis reached full output. Across the battlefield, every sensor malfunctioned simultaneously. Stars appeared distorted. Distance measurements became meaningless. Then, for 3 impossible seconds, the Aegis generated an artificial gravity well comparable to a small neutron star. The effects were apocalyptic. Imperial dreadnoughts were dragged violently out of formation. Armor plating peeled away like paper in a hurricane. One vessel snapped completely in half. Another collided with its own escort cruisers. Shockwaves rippled across nearby fleets, scattering ships uncontrollably. Human crews watched in stunned silence as the Empire's greatest war machines died without landing a single successful hit. But the Aegis was suffering too. Its hull began fracturing under the strain. Entire reactor sections melted. Crew members were crushed by fluctuating gravity fields inside the ship itself. Warning sirens echoed through every deck. Engineers knew the prototype had never been designed for sustained combat at this scale. Admiral Ward understood something terrifying. The Aegis could destroy the Empire's Armada, but every shot pushed the ship closer to catastrophic collapse. And if the reactor failed, it could create a gravitational singularity powerful enough to consume half the Saturn system. The Empire realized this too. Suddenly, the Imperial strategy changed completely. No longer focused on victory, the Armada concentrated every remaining weapon on the Aegis alone. Thousands of guns fired simultaneously. Plasma storms lit space brighter than nearby stars. Missiles saturated entire sectors. The prototype vanished beneath oceans of fire. For nearly 30 seconds, nothing emerged. Human command believed the ship was gone. Then the firing stopped. The Aegis came through the flames slowly, hull shattered, engines bleeding radiation, entire sections exposed to vacuum, but still moving. Its forward cannon glowed brighter than ever before, and then Admiral Ward transmitted a message directly to the Imperial flagship. "You should have left humanity alone." The final shot changed galactic history. The Aegis fired directly into the center of the 7th Armada's command formation. Space itself folded inward across hundreds of kilometers. Battleships disappeared into collapsing gravitational vortices. Carriers shattered instantly. Shockwaves ripped through nearby fleets faster than any explosion could travel. Imperial coordination vanished in seconds. The 7th Armada ceased to exist as a functional military force. Surviving Imperial ships fled in complete disorder. For the first time in recorded galactic history, an Imperial Armada retreated from battle against a supposedly inferior civilization, but victory carried a cost. The Aegis reactor crossed critical thresholds moments after the final attack. Internal containment failures spread across the ship. Crew evacuation became impossible because gravity distortions trapped escape craft inside warped launch bays. Admiral Ward made his final decision alone. Rather than risk the reactor collapsing near human colonies, he manually redirected the dying vessel toward deep space beyond the orbit of Pluto. Human fleets watched helplessly as the prototype drifted away, burning like a wounded star. The last transmission from the Aegis was not triumphant. It was quiet. "Tell Earth, we were worth building." Then the ship vanished into darkness. Seconds later, a silent gravitational wave rolled across the outer solar system. The Aegis was gone. But the Empire had seen enough. News of the battle spread faster than censorship could contain it. Across occupied systems, civilizations once terrified of the Empire began rebelling. Imperial governors lost control. Trade alliances fractured. Military confidence collapsed. Because the galaxy had witnessed something impossible. Humanity, quiet, underestimated humanity, had built a single forgotten prototype capable of annihilating an entire armada. And worse still, if that was merely the prototype, what else had humans been hiding?